got to worry about anything like that. But first, yeah, we're not going to do live. We'll do live next time.
Next time.
But anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I've got with me the lovely Frank Smith, Matchroom's CEO. A pleasure, as always, to catch up with you. But you're extremely busy this week, aren't you?
I am. I'm in Phoenix now. I flew here yesterday. I'm flying to Hermosillo in an hour or so in Mexico. We've got a show on Friday night. Then fly from Hermosillo to Vegas for Canelo Berlanga on Saturday. So it's a busy week, but a good one for, obviously big Mexican Independence weekend. 2 shows back to back. It's good.
Having 2 shows back to back, because apologies, I was getting 2 shows intertwined because I was saying, I'm sure there's something in Mexico. And then obviously, oh no, but Canelo's in Los Angeles, so it can't be that. Doing 2 shows back to back, and they're not literally around the corner from each other, are they? Mexico and Los Angeles, closer than the UK, but not that close.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, PBC are promoting the Canelo fight, obviously the lead promoter on that, in Vegas on Saturday. We've got our show in Hermosillo on Friday. Our Mexico shows always, always deliver great fun, entertainment every time. So yeah, it's busy, but nothing we're not used to.
So that show, then let us know a little bit about that show. I know Mexican, you guys seem to have literally made a home over there. We can touch on America in a bit, but Mexico and Matchroom, the 2 M's have been working together for a little while now. So would you say there's more familiarity going over to Mexico than there is to, obviously, like Los Angeles or NYC?
I mean, look, we've been doing shows in Mexico now for 5 or so years, I think.
Yeah.
We've probably done 20, 25 shows out there. And every show we do delivers unbelievable entertainment. The quality of the fights, the matchup of the fights, you just don't see it. And we love it out there. Rocky Hernandez headlines against Thomas Mattice. Rocky Hernandez in a great position, but a tough fight against Thomas Mattice. You think back to when Rocky fought Ashaki Foster in Mexico, was winning that fight, lost in the last round, I think it was, got stopped in the last round. But he's got so much potential to go on and win a world title. Hard fight, like I say, against Thomas Mattice. So that headlines the show on Friday night. But yeah, Mexico, great place for us to do shows, and always looking to do more out there.
Developing talent out in Mexico then, because, and like I said, forgive my ignorance, I tend to focus on either the UK or Europe. It's only recently my mind's kind of opened up to going out over the West Side. What is it like for Matchroom, like developing the talent? Because I know you've got Diego Pacheco, but he trains out of, even though Mexican native, training out of America. But what's it like for Matchroom developing the talent out there? Is Matchroom sort of like the go-to promoter? That's what I'm getting at when they look at promotional companies.
There's a lot of promoters in Mexico. There's a lot, obviously, boxing, is a massive sport in Mexico, and there's fights constantly by all different promoters. We work with a lot of different promoters in Mexico, and we're always looking to spot who the next talent is. So there's so much going on there and so much potential. That's what excites us, and that's why we do these 5-6 shows there a year, to build through those fighters as they come through, and then build them into the US market as well. We've seen great success with Mexican fighters, especially in the US market. Juan Francisco Estrada is a great example of someone, a Mexican fighter who comes across to the US, sells huge bundles of tickets every time he fights. So there's so much potential to keep doing that over the next few years. So excited about what's to come. And like I say, the matchup of the talent at even such a young stage, even when they're like 3-4-0, the fights they're going into, when you compare someone who's got like a 7-4 record in Mexico to someone who's got a 7-4 record in the UK or Europe, it's completely different.
Yep.
Because they're just thrown into fights and they start fighting at 16, 17 years old, maybe even younger sometimes. We signed Diego Pacheco, obviously, who's, in the US, but he's early fights were in Mexico because he was 17 years old, and that's where he started out. So I think it's a whole different world, really, compared to boxing in Europe and the talent coming through. But it's great to see.
There's a reason why I'm edging towards this. Would you say that Mexico, like you said, 5 years, excess, how many shows a year, doing a lot of work with Mexico, would you say that their doors, there's, like you said, there's loads of promoters, there's loads of fight cards on, there's loads of fighters. That's sort of like their bread and butter. Similar to UK, you've got football and you've got boxing. Were the doors more open to you guys when you went over to Mexico to kind of penetrate the boxing market over there? Were they more welcoming? Like, they weren't really bothered that you were from the UK. They were like, yeah, come on, join the party.
Yeah, look, I think anywhere you go, I think they want to. The difference is we're going into Mexico and delivering our own shows with partners and local promoters. You know, compared to other people may have done work in Mexico, but they're just really just showing other promoters fights and putting their name to it. We're going in, delivering the event ourselves, the production, everything around it. But we work with a whole host of different promoters everywhere we go locally. So it's not, you know, it's not just like Matchroom come into town, get out. You know, we work with a whole group of people, you know, to put it together everywhere we go in different markets, because there's people who, you know, promote boxing in these, you know, this week we're in Sonora, but we've been all over the place, whether that's been Oaxaca, whether that's been Cancun, whether that's been Guadalajara. Like, we've done shows all across Mexico now. And you work with different promoters everywhere. So yeah, I think it's a bit more open because they see it as well as an opportunity to work with us in the US, you know, and when they've got young developing talent, it's definitely the potential to build fighters up and then come across to big US shows as well. I think that's where it's a bit more open to people actually working together.
Somebody, Frank, you seem to be one of these that does, I'd say you probably got the, when you do your bits, you've done bits out in Japan as well. We've had the tournaments, which I enjoyed very much so. And I'm waiting for you to announce when the part 2 of that tournament's coming out. So when it comes to like, developing the business for Matchroom and you're looking at like potential countries to host these bouts or work in partnership, talk to us about, like, I mean, Japan. I know we've got Inoue, we've got Kenichi, I can't remember his surname. We've got lots of fighters out there, but for you to like broaden Matchroom's, how would I put it, Matchroom's name out in all these countries. Talk to us about that and the development for Matchroom, for that being a global promotional company. I think those are the key words I'm looking for. You're global.
Yeah, I think that's always been the focus for us, is expanding globally, and that was a big part of our move to DAZN as well, the opportunity to deliver shows anywhere in the world. You know, we've been all over the place. You know, we've got a show in Monaco that we just announced. We're back there for the 6th time. You know, we've done multiple shows in Uzbekistan, which is an amazing place for boxing. Japan, as you say, we're working on the second leg of that tournament, the prize fighter tournament. Now we're in talks with a whole host of different countries right now, and that's really one of my focuses, is working through it. It takes a long time. You know, this isn't just like, we're going to do a show here and next week it's done. This takes months, if not years, of work, especially, you know, with governments quite often as well. You know, there's a big push from a number of governments now, you know, to bring big sporting events. You know, look, we see what Saudi have done, but on a lower scale, there's a number of places that want to do that. And, you know, there's concepts and ideas. That's why I like the prize fighter concept, because you build a concept, and sometimes, where boxing is such an expensive sport is the reality of it in terms of fighters' talent fees. That's the truth of the sport of boxing. In comparison to other sports, when you speak to governments about bringing boxing somewhere, the talent in boxing is expensive. That's driven by the market. The market is driven by what's going on right now. You know, like I say, Saudi has made a huge investment into the sport. So there's other ways where you've got to penetrate it, because not everyone has those budgets in order to be able to deliver those kind of nights. So you have to as well create brands and concepts that people buy into, and then from there understand who the fighters are, because you're not going to necessarily go to some of these markets that have a lower budget and be able to put on fights or fighters that are necessarily known at that point. So you have to create something outside of it, and that's why I love the prize fighter concept as well. Especially, I love the one night concept, if we can bring that back in certain territories. Japan was obviously over multi nights because of the commission. But we also look at markets where boxing is thriving. Japan, as you say, especially with the likes of Inoue and what he's done with the sport there. There's a market for boxing. There's a market for much more boxing. It takes time as well. It's never going to be a success on the first night. It's just the reality of it. Anywhere you go, it's very difficult to walk into somewhere and go, wow, look at that. You know, unless it's a one-off mega event, you have to invest time, you have to invest effort and a long-term strategic approach. Too many people get it wrong and they go, I want to do a one-off, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it with Monaco now, again, on a smaller scale in terms of individuals in the venue. But you start building this event that people want to be at, and that takes time.
But I like that, the whole Monaco thing. It just seems very F1. It's all that, I don't know, you almost can see it's like Dickie Bowles. It's that smart dress. It's that exclusivity. It's sort of like a members club kind of attitude, the upper echelons, should I say, if we're going to put it like that, of boxing. And I do like to see stuff like that advertised. I don't know. I'm a James Bond fan. So anytime I think of anything from over there, I think, yeah, it's kind of James Bond-esque. But you mentioned
100%.
about you what? Sorry,
I said 100%.
yeah.
But that's that for us as well. It's about delivering. Not necessarily everyone in there is going to know who the talent, the fighters are at that point walking in there. But it's about putting on great fights that captivate the audience, and people go, that was unbelievable. It might not even be the biggest boxing fans to start with, but they come in there, they watch great fights. Again, I'm a bit more of that casual boxing fan of, right, whether people like it or not, of you just people want to see tear-ups. That is what people want to see. And, style's great. You can 10 rounds of just unbelievable boxing, but it's not what a lot of people want to, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of people want to go and watch a fight where it's 10, 12 rounds of just literal back and forth. And that, and at that point, you then build a fan base from there as well. So you got then this new audience going, that was unbelievable. I'm going to go and watch their next fight, even though they might not have had that, might not have known that fighter prior to that. So yeah, it's interesting, and there's lots of that going on in the background, lots of work, like I say, that is going on to try and bring these events all around the world, because boxing's a global sport. We're a global business in everything we do, in all the sports we do. So that's, like I say, a big focus for me right now. And I get to go away a lot.
There is that. It's like you're permanently on holiday.
Yeah, I know. That's what that is sort of the running joke in the office.
Start calling you Judith Chalmers.
I'm too young for that.
Sorry, yeah. I'm old. Yeah, we used to have holiday programs back in the day. I can't remember what they were called, but yeah. But one of the things that you mentioned there, and like say, for example, Monaco, I know that His Excellency, what he tends to do, and I do like this as well, even though there was a lot of focus on celebrities, the last fight that was in Los Angeles, they bring, like, say, movie stars, celebrities, and then it sort of like creates a little bit more of an appetite to actually, it makes it more or less like a red carpet event, like a reveal for a new movie, a new perfume, whatever it is. It brings a little bit of spice to boxing. So when I think of Monaco, that's what I think. I think of sort of like celebrities walking down this red carpet, going and getting in their seats. And that's just me. That's kind of like the dramatization, the romanticizing of, oh, who's going to be there? It's not just the fights, but let's have a look and see who's turned up, who, Boxer do it. I will say that Boxer brings celebrities to their fights, but it'd be nice to see if, like, you guys did that as well, start to bring like more celebrities into the fights as well. Because a lot of the celebrities do like boxing. They do.
Yeah, look, it's showbiz. Showbiz is what people love to see, and that's why boxing is where, it, when you talk about the sport of boxing, the demographics and the interest from a whole range of different people, a whole range of different audience, whether it's the wealthiest people in the world,
yes,
to like, and then the grassroots community, like all the way through. And that's why boxing's so great and always has been. It's not just in recent times, it's hundreds and hundreds of years, obviously, that it would attract such a range of audience. And that's, like I say, the great thing about boxing. It's sexy, and probably more than ever as well.
Yeah,
it's a sport people want to be involved in, whether that's going to watch it, whether that's training, whatever it is. It's great, and we're in a great position with it.
Do you think Africa's somewhere, the continent? And I say that because some of you fighters, they come from the continent, they're first generation British, etc. I know you mentioned about governments and funding, but the continent of Africa, obviously Nigeria, you've got Ghanaian. Is that something that you think about involving in the sport as well? Because it'd be really nice. I know we obviously, Muhammad Ali, etc., fighting out there. Is that something that Matchroom would consider potentially doing fights over on the continent?
Yeah, look, 100%. And we've had multiple meetings. I've spent time, I've flown out, to have meetings. These things, like I say, again, it takes a lot of time to try and get something in place. And also, again, I go back to the point: boxing's not a cheap sport. It's not a cheap sport to get into, especially when you want a certain level. You know, you want world titles, etc. And that is a stumbling block in some ways because it restricts certain places being able to do it. You know, but we've had hundreds of conversations with various opportunities across Africa over the years. And just like in other territories over the years, you have hundreds of conversations that don't actually come to anything. That's just the reality. You know, like you go down this route of, like in the Middle East, you know, prior especially to Saudi, you'd have so many conversations, and it would be like, that's another wasted
Oh
3 months.
wow.
You
Oh
know,
wow.
no, but it's part and parcel. But you have to give everyone a go. Like I've probably got 10 conversations going on now with different opportunities in different countries around the world. Does 10 come off? No. Does one come off? Hopefully, you know, but you have to invest the time and effort into it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of time wasters out there around the world who you
Mm.
focus a lot of time on and actually probably never got an intention of doing it, but part and parcel of, business. But Africa's 100% a place we want to deliver shows in, and there's lots going on. Like when you look at certain territories, like festivals going out to different markets. There's so much opportunity there to do something, but you just got to get it right. You got to get it right, and it's going to take time as well. It's not going to be, like I say, it's not going to be an overnight success necessarily. It's got to be a long-term investment of, we're going to do this for 3, 4, 5 years, and then review from there. But you have to have the right partners as well, anywhere you go.
Do you have like would you say that business in boxing, because like I said, there's business and there's boxing business, it's completely different. When you have a strategy, would you say that there's one similarity that works across the board except for money? Money's the obvious thing. I get it, money talks. But when you're approaching, there's different cultures, different lifestyles, different rules of different countries. That's all there. But is there like a baseline that you take out in relation to like a business strategy to approach these countries and say, look, you've got fighters here, we want to invest here? Is there like a blueprint template that you would take out that fits all the countries, or do you have to have a different approach to every single country? I know it sounds like a basic question, but it's always something I think about. Can you approach Uzbekistan the same way you'd approach Japan, the same way you'd approach Mexico, or do you have to have a different approach to all of them?
No, it's a good question. All completely different is the
Right.
reality, because everywhere you go as well, I've got different goals and objectives of why they're doing it. A lot of places right now, it's for tourism. It's to drive tourism long term. They want international fighters. Some places will be, they want TV exposure. Some, there's such a range of objectives that these, whether it's a private individual, private entity, or a government organization, as to why they're doing it. So you have to really, it's tailor made for what that client needs. But there's a base of, we know how much it costs to go to most countries around the world and put on a boxing event, and but it's, what do you actually want from it? So well and good, we could go and do a boxing event anywhere in the world, but what do you want to gain from it? Otherwise, you're wasting money, really.
No, it's all right. Just interested to know. But we're going to take it back to Los Angeles. Like I said, you're going from Phoenix to Mexico and then from Mexico to Los Angeles. Is it weird? Vegas, sorry. Yeah. Las Vegas. I knew it was L. Told you I'm rubbish.
Close.
Geography was not my subject.
Loss.
Ask me about the UK, but not anywhere else. Is it weird sort of going up against Canelo, Saul Alvarez, with obviously Berlanga as an out your guy? Because at one point, and I can speak on what I see with, Eddie Hearn, you had Dolce and Gabbana, even the outfits were similar. It's like they were twinning at one point, and now it's like he's on the opposite side, and now you guys have got to be Team Berlanga. Is that weird?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Eddie yet, but he might be wearing some more Dolce & Gabbana pajamas. Let's see.
I'm not going to get into outfits, but know what I mean.
Yeah. I think when you look back to like the relationship we've had with Canelo, we started out when Golden Boy were promoting him, and we had the opponents with Danny Jacobs, Rocky Fielding, etc. And then when we started promoting his shows. You know, we did Callum Smith, someone who we promoted from his debut against him. We did Billy Joe Saunders, you know, again, someone we promoted. You know, like we've been there where we've promoted fighters against him. I don't think boxing's one of those sports, like at the end of the day, when they get in the ring, the best man's going to win. So it doesn't, you know, it doesn't change the relationship. Eddie's got a great relationship with Canelo Alvarez. I'll say, you know, I know him, obviously. Eddie knows him a lot better. But our job is to deliver the best opportunities for Edgar Berlanga. We've done that. You know, he signed him 3 fights ago, or this will be his 3rd fight. And yeah, we've had 2 fights where he's headlined on the Zone, and now he's got the Canelo fight. That was always the plan when we signed him, what we were focusing on. So, you know, we've delivered what we wanted to do, you know, as a team. So I don't think boxing like is one of those sports where it comes and, you know, like you all work together, everything comes around. So like if you look back
seen that, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people say a lot of things about people, and then next month they're dealing with them, and happy days, everyone's best mates. You know,
Leonard Ellaby?
I know, yeah. I was actually quite disappointed. I know, I was quite disappointed. I'm going to tell him when I speak to him.
But to be fair, watching it and shout out to IFL Carl McGuigan that was out there doing the good work as he does. To me, it was nice to see. It's refreshing because obviously Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, that's what makes us think, I wonder if that's going to, you know, go on. And we saw Leonard there with Eddie. He was very respectful. You know, he was not quiet, but he was respectful. And you could see that Eddie was like, yeah, all right. Yeah, this has happened. But, you know, it's nice to actually be here. Sometimes it's the media that's stirring it up and etc., etc. But I like to see that because if you guys work together, we get spoiled even more because at the moment we are being spoiled. The boxing fans are being spoiled. His Excellency's selling Joshua for 17 quid or 20 quid if you're not a usual subscriber. So we're getting spoiled at the moment.
Yeah. Look, I think what you say there about with Leonard, you can't take things too seriously. At the end of the day, it's a bit of a game, you know, a bit of a show, really, like the whole thing. And everyone's saying things to build up their fighter. And it doesn't always align with what other people are saying. And you got to build things up. Like the promoters are kind of actors, I always say, in some way. And they need to be in order to build their fighters up. You know, boxing, you can't take anything too seriously. Because, yeah. No, but there's a lot of people that I've worked with over the years that don't necessarily have the greatest relationship with, or like on a maybe on a personal level. But I've worked with a lot of people over the years that I think just go and do it, and you have to take the emotion out of it as well.
True.
You know, because there's so much pent up aggression and emotion in boxing that things don't get done. Like, oh, you don't want their logo on there, or this, that, the other. It's like, who cares? Like,
it's ego, though, isn't it, Frank? It's ego. That's ego, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is ego, you know, and that's why actually having no ego in boxing is such a great place to be, you know, because there's not many people who don't have, you know, who can take the ego away.
So what I'm saying is, like, so in a few months' time, are we going to literally see you with your arm around bench and I'm saying, hey, you know, that's
probably not, but
why
I don't.
You like him? Can I ask why you don't?
No,
that
because,
one, he seems to leave a bad taste in your mouth. He does.
No, I don't. I don't really want to. Like, I get sort of stick for saying things when I'm just responding to questions. No, not from you, but when I'm responding to questions. I've said a million times, I'm not going to not do business with him.
Business is business,
you know. And when it's business, I do. I just have a view that I've outlaid before, and I'm not going to keep saying the same thing because it makes it look like I've got a problem. It's just that's my view, for reasons that are, you know, for me, I have reasons. Is what it is. But I'm not going to keep going on about it unless asked about it. I'll give my view, but it doesn't stop me from doing business with someone. Like, go back to the point of I've been working in boxing since I was 17, 18 years old. There's so many people, and at all levels of the sport of boxing, whether you're dealing with 4-rounders to unified undisputed championships, it's a nightmare in terms of like the characters, the egos involved in the sport. that you just become sort of cold to it and go, oh, who gives it, like. So when it comes to the business side of it, if the deal makes sense, I'm quite open. Like my focus is, my job is I have to make money to run a business. So everything I do is to do the best for our fighters, make them the most amount of money. And then if the fighters make the most amount of money, our business is successful, and we're in a good place. So it's not, you have to take the ego and emotion and aggression out of it. It doesn't mean on a personal level, like you and I, we may hate each other. Again, we don't. But I can still do something with you if it makes sense for the business.
If it makes,
and park everything else. Go, who cares about everything? Like, who cares about that when it comes to doing good business? I'm not going to go and have a beer with you in the park. But like that for me is the focus. Like, but there's a lot of people in boxing that I will never speak. I said this the other day, that I will probably never speak to again when it comes to me being out of boxing. There's some people that I really get on with and have a great and love to bits and have a great relationship with. So, it's like anything, any walk of life. You're not all going to get on. You're not all going to have the same morals and views. Yeah. So, like, treat it as two separate things. But I've got to the point where I've made views clear, and I don't want to just keep repeating the same thing.
I like that about you though, because you're upfront. You're
I don't lie about anything.
White.
Yeah, I don't lie to people.
Yeah, you're very black and white.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to be. But I wouldn't lie to your face, so I wouldn't lie on a camera.
Same.
I wouldn't sit here and say something about. I wouldn't anything I'd say about someone behind closed doors. I'd say on a camera, or I'd say to their face. And I wouldn't hide away from it. But it gets to the point where you go, okay, I've said it now, made my views clear, and you have to move on because, otherwise you get to the point where you become that person with the pent up, with the aggression that everything frustrates you. Yeah. So and we're all guilty of doing it. But now it's easy to go, do you know what? I'm gonna park that one.
I like that though. That's the one thing I will say about you. You are very black and white. I mean,
sometimes too much.
Nah, because when I first met you, I was like, I don't know. Shall I go up to him? Shall I? Because you literally have a poker face, and I'm not saying that you're unapproachable, but you wouldn't if you don't really know what you. But then when you approach you're like friendly, lovely, but it's like I don't know. With Eddie, he looks like you can like walk straight up to him, but with you, it's like it's very black and white. But I like that because then you know where you stand. But speaking about knowing where we stand, I can't look. September the 21st, 96,000, Wembley Arena, music shows, Riyadh season comes to the UK. I know we've got to wrap up. So I just want your final thoughts on that. We're coming into fight week. I get it. You've got 3 fights, but we've got that key one, and we can talk about the other fights another time. That card and what it means to bring Riyadh season for its very first time, its debut, to the greedy, miserable fans. Well, we love it really. Like us, the UK fans, the home of boxing.
I thought you were going to say the miserable weather of England.
No.
Look,
a reflection of the people, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a special night. We've seen what Riyadh season had done in Riyadh. We've now seen what they've done in LA. The quality, the level of the show they put on is unrivaled. And when they come to Wembley Stadium, 96,000 people.
Oh, he's disappeared. What happened there?
Don't know. Oh, you're gone. I'm back.
Left me. Yeah.
I don't know. 96,000 people packed out Wembley Stadium. Anthony Joshua, I don't know where we got up to, but who has changed the face of the sport, and I believe deserves so much more praise than he gets. Yeah. Daniel Dubois, unbelievable fighter who has shown over the years so many improvements. I think it's too early for him. I think Anthony Joshua is in the form of his life. I think Anthony Joshua is going to stop Daniel Dubois, but it's going to be a special moment. You've got Liam Gallagher performing. It's going to be like nothing we've ever seen, and we're going to see a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world in Anthony Joshua, and then go on and set up some big things for 2025.
What will that feel like for you guys at Matchroom? Obviously, Anthony Joshua, I was there. I watched the signing of the pay. That is when I really started to watch boxing again, when he came out of the Olympics. What will that mean for you guys to see his hands raised and that belt which was his at one point get handed back to him in the ring. What would that mean for Matchroom boxing?
An amazing moment. You know, when you've been on a journey with someone
Yeah.
from early days, and I speak back to, like, I took him for his medicals when we signed him
Oh,
after the
wow.
Olympics. So, like, I went round London, got his medicals done with him, went to his eye, you know, everywhere. So, like, he is someone. We're probably not as close to fighters as we used to be in terms of we're so big
Mm,
now and we're traveling so much. But back then we were doing 10, 12, 14 shows. You were with them, you were in the gyms a bit more, you know, and I'd like to try and go back to that as well. But with him and a lot of the fighters we signed around that era, you have a very close bond
yeah.
that you've been on this journey, that he's done the work, he's got in there and he's done everything, he's been through tough moments, great nights, you know, he's been through it all and you've been alongside him. So to be a part of a journey like that, you know, whatever percentage you add to it, whatever part you feel you play in it, but to be on that journey from 2013 through to now, to have the highs, the lows, you know, that'll be a special moment because it, as well, it's probably one of the most important fights of his career as well, you know, now, because it's going to set up finally that big undisputed clash or that Tyson Fury, whatever it is, those
Whatever it is.
big fights that have
Mm.
been spoken about for years. So, yeah, and to see him as well win that title back because I know how much it means to him, and you know, he is one of the nicest blokes you could meet, and in a sport that isn't always full of loyalty, he is loyal throughout and a good person. You know, someone that you would 100% want alongside you the whole way.
We love it. Listen, I'm going to ask you next time we meet about a schedule for Matchroom. One of the things that, my subscribers are asking and they've been tweeting, at me on Twitter, X, is about, the UK shows. But I
Yeah,
can't cover that with you now. But we definitely will catch up fight week. I'll jump on you and
I'll see
attack
you
you
there.
in fight week. But safe flight,
Thank
enjoy
you.
the fights, and yeah, I'll see you next week, Frank.
See you soon. Good to catch up.
Yeah, always look after yourself.
Thanks very much.